I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thanks, as always, for spending some time with us. Well, this obviously was not the outcome the Trump administration wanted.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision.
And what was a 6-3 decision? The Chief, Justices Barrett and Gorsuch, voted with the 3 Democrat appointees to rule that President Trump didn't have the authority to impose either his drug-related or reciprocal tariffs on foreign countries using something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. Now, early last year, President Trump had declared 2 emergencies, one on fentanyl, the crisis there, and 2, just on the massive trade deficits that have hollowed out U.S. manufacturing. The president's team believed that when IEEPA's language granted the power to regulate the importation of goods, which necessarily included the power to impose tariffs for them, that was their viewpoint. But the court said no, that IEEPA's language was too ambiguous to grant the president such sweeping authority, especially given the fact that tariff authority was specifically granted in the Constitution already to Congress. Now, the court's decision today striking down President Trump's tariff regime isn't surprising, though, to a lot of us who followed trade issues over the past 20 years and actually listened to the oral arguments. Now, it's always risky to predict where the court is going to come down in any given case. Remember, I clerked there many years ago. But the justices seem somewhat skeptical that the president has such broad unilateral authority to impose these tariffs. Yeah, the outcome was predictable, unfortunately, at least with this court makeup. Now, many in the GOP establishment, they're celebrating this decision. You know, some on the separation of powers or non-delegation grounds, others because they just hate all tariffs and don't blink when American workers' jobs are shipped overseas. And by the way, on the Democrats who, voted to strike down the tariffs, does anyone else remember a time when Democrats opposed Congress's authority to delegate some of its decision-making, in this case, to order tariffs? I mean, think of all those independent agencies out there that liberals love. Remember, those independent agencies have power delegated to them by Congress, but they technically fall under the executive branch. Now, the dissents of both Justice Thomas and Kavanaugh were persuasive and exceedingly reasonable. First, brilliance from Justice Thomas. Congress authorized the president to regulate importation. Throughout American history, the authority to regulate importation has been understood to include the authority to impose duties on imports. The meaning of that phrase was beyond doubt by the time that Congress enacted this statute, shortly after President Nixon's highly publicized duties on imports when they were upheld based on identical language. The statute that the president relied on, therefore, authorized him to impose the duties on imports at issue in these cases. And Justice Kavanaugh he ended up just laying out a roadmap for how the president can still, and as we know now will, impose tariffs under already well-established laws. Now, today, Trump reminded everyone, again, going back to that Kavanaugh dissent, that even without this IEEPA statute, tariffs are here to stay.
I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies.
As Justice Kavanaugh noted, Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 is the law of the land, and it allows the president to declare a balance of payments emergency where he could have imposed as much as 15% for 150 days. And Trump already announced new investigations through what's called Section 301. Now, remember, he did this in his first term under the leadership of U.S. Trade Rep Bob Lighthizer.
China has an industrial policy that involves a lot of subsidies, a lot of dumping, a lot of forced technology transfer, all these sorts of things. So what have we done? We have prosecuted cases on anti-dumping, on countervailing duty. The president has initiated a case on so-called 301. It's a very effective tool. We'll use the WTO when we can. The president's willing to act unilaterally when he has to. Ronald Reagan used it, and he used it very effectively, and it made a big difference for our trade policy.
Huge difference. By the way, those first-term tariffs, again, as I said, never overturned, not a single time, not a single tariff. Biden even kept them in place. That's how effective those tariffs were. Now, they take more time to impose and are perhaps not as sweeping as what the president would want, but they're still extremely effective. But back to that majority opinion itself. Now, the dissent is 100% correct. It is ludicrous to think that in IEEPA, Congress gave the president the authority to regulate commerce in an emergency, which would include banning imports outright and total embargoes of imports, but that it would somehow, in the statute, not even allow him to charge.
This is why we hate lawyers. You put 9 of them in a room, they can't agree on anything. There are 5 laws that say the president can use tariffs. So the president picks one, uses tariffs, gets sued, and the Supreme Court can't agree if he picked the right law. 3 said he did, 6 said he didn't. They all agree the president has the power to use a tariff, but 6 of them say he's got to pick a different law. So the president's just going to pick a different law and put the tariffs back on. That's what happened today. The 3 justices who backed Trump were Kavanaugh, Alito, and Thomas. Amy Coney Barrett, Gorsuch, Roberts all sided with the Democrats.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. In fact, they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats. The court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think.
I guess Trump's not a dictator anymore because the court ruled against him and he's going to do what they say. Carney in Canada, he doesn't have this issue. Ursula at the EU can hit us with tariffs and nothing stops her. Mexico can hit back fast. China can. They dump and tariff all day long. But the United States has to just sit there and take it? The president can't hit back fast? He has to guess which law to use. And if he retaliates too hard against Vietnam or Switzerland, these countries can hold firm because the court might strike them down.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you.
The president enacted big, fast, sweeping tariffs to knock everybody off their chairs and send them scurrying to Washington to negotiate. Other countries were desperate to do a deal because the tariffs hurt and Trump had a free hand. You think if Trump had waited 2 years and then hit the Japanese with just a tiny 10% little tariff, they would have buckled and sent us $600 billion? The president controls foreign policy. Foreign trade is foreign policy. And Trump used tariffs to get NATO's spending boosted, to kick China out of the Panama Canal, and to pull Greenland away from little Denmark, and to make peace deals. Hey, you two stop fighting or I'll slap 50% tariffs on you both. The Supreme Court says you did that the wrong way? You got to do it this way instead? Richard Nixon used the exact same authority to slap a 10% tariff on almost every import. The Supreme Court upheld it. Trump used the same authority and they knocked it down. How mad's the president? He's pretty mad.
The Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely. Barely. 3 are happily invited. No, they're barely invited.
Kavanaugh cut through all the gobbledygook and said, what's the point of ruling against him if he could just easily do it another way? Quote, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That is because numerous other federal statutes authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs at issue in this case. Then Kavanaugh made a list of all the other laws the president can use to do the exact same thing. It's like having dirty dishes, but you have to do it by hand. You're not allowed to use the dishwasher. Why are we making it so difficult? Let's just get the dishes done and go to bed. Trump has a whole toolbox of things he can use, and he's just going to go down the list, and he's already checking it off. Tariffs are being put back. What a waste of time. And the president campaigned and won on this. Japan spent $60 million to build a factory in Georgia. Trump was just there yesterday, and everybody wanted to give him a kiss. And I mean everyone.
I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man. But a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. He said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week. And then you came in and imposed tariffs. And all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you.
Here's the silver lining. The president goes back, does it again. This time, it's even more targeted and strategic. He's already locked in the trade deals. Now he can carve out exemptions for, let's say, coffee importers, for example, because we don't grow coffee here in America. In a way, it's a win. We got the deals. The costs have been eaten. Inflation went down. And now we can go back and redo it, and we can decide what each business needs. The crazy thing about all this is that the court let our country get invaded. Apparently, it's not illegal to catch and release 20 million foreigners into the country. Just don't charge the foreigners a fee to come in. That would be illegal.
I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country-destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money.
Democrats who actually begged Clinton, Bush, Obama to start a trade war with China now say only dictators start trade wars.
Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he doesn't even know? And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
So if globalism crushed the working man, if NAFTA crushed him, if cheap Chinese labor destroyed small-town America, how's Trump supposed to save the working man if he can't renegotiate trade deals and use the same tools other countries use? Huh? Trump's at least trying to get others to pay. Democrats want you to pay. Mayor Mondami said he was going to make New York City more affordable. So he gets elected. Now he says he's going to raise your taxes and raid the Treasury. How's that for a bait and switch?
In order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the Rainy Day Fund, the Retiree Health Benefits Trust Reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
New Yorkers not happy about it.
Mayor Zoran Mondani, you are out your goddamn mind.
To the mayor, with the greatest respect, in every campaign speech, in every debate where you engage, we opened our ears to listen. Now today, accept the words echoing from us now. Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
Because of the Trump tax cuts, you're getting a big, beautiful tax refund this April. And Democrats don't even know it yet, but they just walked into a pretty big trap. Newsom's saying Americans should get a tariff refund.
Donald Trump should return that money immediately. He has an obligation, $1,751 per family, that were taxed by Donald Trump. He took hundreds of billions of dollars from working folks, from the ag community, from small businesses, for this vanity play, this illegal action. And he finally was held to account. The rule of law won out.
Tariff stimmy checks with Trump's name on it right before the midterms. I'm into it. Anyway, most of the tariffs were eaten by foreigners, importers. Some prices went up, yeah, but inflation's gone down since Liberation Day. But as long as we're playing along, I love the idea of a refund. Are we getting refund checks for the $9 billion the Somalis stole? Because when there's fraud on my credit card, American Express pays me back. Are we getting refund checks for Bidenomics? The average family paid thousands of dollars more a year. Should I check the mailbox? We spent hundreds of billions on migrants, their hotels, health care, phones. I want a refund. Are California taxpayers going to get the $24 billion back that Gavin spent on the homeless? Do California taxpayers get the $16 billion back from the train to nowhere that Gavin never built? That rail CEO, he just got arrested for battery.
There's investigation pending, and what's not pending is progress. And we're continuing to make progress laying the rail.
Newsom thinks he's leading the charge on refunds, all right? He's not even leading Mayor Pete. A new poll in New Hampshire has Buttigieg beating AOC, Newsom, and Harris. Mayor Pete, who Kamala said was too gay to run with, is now running away with it.
I'm a big believer in going everywhere, both across the media landscape and geographically. There are so many places. Some are well-known places on the political map. Some are a little bit off the beaten path. All of them deserve attention at a moment like this. I'm going to continue to go wherever I think I can be useful.
Newsom's already on his knees, begging the South Carolina kingmaker for favors.
Try to understand. I love the, meeting John Lewis, meeting Martin Luther King. You're contemporary of all these folks. Yeah. Jesse Jackson, all these folks. Yeah. I mean, so were they, for someone like me sitting back, we think of these people in obviously and appropriately reverential terms as we do you, but as a living testament to that.
Yeah, Newsom's lost control. Blacks hate him, so he's kissing Clyburn's ring. And he needs Silicon Valley money to win. So he sided with China in the trade war. Remember, he cleaned up San Francisco for Xi? Not for us, for Xi. Chinese knee pads, he's in a lot of trouble. And once these donors send him all this cash and he loses, they're going to want a refund.
So this week, SF Mayor Daniel Lurie did something the city's been waiting for a long time. And no, it wasn't replacing rice-a-roni with me as the San Francisco treat. Actually, he signed legislation paving the way for the Reset Center, which stands for Rapid Enforcement Support Evaluation and Triage. It means if you're using drugs on the street, police can arrest you. Instead of just cycling you back out, they take you to a facility where you sober up in a safe, controlled environment to get treatment. In other words, it's what should have been done long ago for many Californians. In short, it's off the sidewalk and into recovery. And this is happening at SF, a place where many turned to drugs 60 years ago in an effort to make this woman pretty. Now, even Dr. Drew says this is going to make a huge difference and immediately save lives. Of course, he said the same thing the first time he saw me in his Speedo, but he's right. This is going to work. Of course, for years, San Fran treated public drug use like it was a classic city feature, like cable cars or sourdough bread and drag queens spin the bottle at all area elementary schools. They'd say, oh, you're struggling? Here's a fresh syringe. They were basically getting people to kill themselves, otherwise known as the Hillary method. Meanwhile, the rest of us had to step over someone who just OD'd just to get into a sex dungeon. But now Lurie's saying something radical, which is we're not going to let you slowly die in public anymore. We're going to intervene and get you into treatment. And that's the only way it works. Actual compassion isn't found in enabling destructive behavior. Real compassion says, I care enough to stop you from destroying yourself and others. Advice Dr. Jill probably should have heeded. Now, the city could have done this anytime they wanted. The authority was there, but not the will. So why now? Well, unlike so many other Democrats, Lurie came from a business background. And the first thing you learn in business school, having bodies strewn around your property doesn't attract paying customers. The current strategy only benefited the junkie, and as healthy taxpayers bolted, the city just got worse and worse because that grim lifestyle only attracted more of it. But while SF's woke bureaucrats embrace suicidal empathy, he's trying to fix the city. And if he does, it breaks the ice for other major cities to do the same. Because if SF streets get safer and overdoses drop and businesses come back, then suddenly those other mayors have to do the same thing. And like the bathroom towels in Kid Rock's trailer, that could be contagious. For years, the message to addicts was, we respect your journey. Meanwhile, the journey ended in a body bag. Well, now that journey is being terminated. And it's good. It's about time. Because when I go to San Fran, I prefer to see my naked hippies alive.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.